My personal taste is for doing, I think, like a short miniseries. I think is a very good model. For me, a 4-issue miniseries is a perfect model. I think for independence as well. There's the balance of basically art and commerce. If you work for the majors, you might get paid a decent page rate, but you don't own it and you don't control it. If you work for yourself, which I always advise people to do, because you will be your own best boss. You can do whatever you want. You own it. You control the rights. If somebody wants to make a movie of it, you get the money, not DC Comics. But nobody's going to pay you a page rate to do that. But the thing about the double-edged sword of comics is that you can either own it or you can get paid. But you very, very rarely get both. So you've got to make that decision for yourselves. I mean, like I said before, I always promise myself that I would alternate working for the big two with doing little creator-owned things, and it's never ended up that way. I never have, because I'm slow and disorganized, as you can tell. I never have time to write the independent stuff. Jock's been nagging me to write a short comic called Snapshot for about 4 years now. Yeah. I promised I'd write the first issue by Christmas, so it might actually happen at some point. But yeah, like I was saying, I find personally, it's just purely personal taste thing. I find a 4-issue miniseries is a very nice little model, because you sell the individual issues, hopefully make your money back at least on the individual issues, and then once you've got it, once that's completed, you can then collect it as a graphic novel and sell it again. Selling something twice is better than selling it once. A useful way, once you've got the whole thing collected, put the first issue online for free, with a link to where to buy the graphic novel collection of it on Amazon or Kepri or wherever. Free is good. Free gets people buying stuff. And I think, I'm always banging on about webcomics and the Apple tablet and stuff. Like I say, it's going to be a game changer, but it's not going to be a game changer for a few years yet. When it comes out, it'll be very expensive. But when they get cheap, I think comics will be the killer app for touchscreen tablets. I think everybody's going to have them. Comics are perfect for them. Comics look great on a screen. As you once said, they're made of light on the screen. They're literally radiant. They look fantastic. And when you can just scroll through a page at a time, and anybody in the world can download it instantly just by they can download your work instantly just by pressing a button on this thing that they're sitting in their lap in their living room. I think that's really going to open up the floodgates for independent comics work. Get doing it basically about it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I want to, me and Jock, like I said, we've talked about doing exactly what I'm describing. 4-issue miniseries. I think we should probably publish it through Image. Once it's all out, then collect it as a graphic novel and make the first issue available for free. Some of the Image comics you can download, for example, like Jonathan Hickman's Nightly News and things like that. Once the whole thing's out and collected, they will make a PDF available of the entire first issue for download. So anybody can sample it for free, and if they like it, they can order it. PDFs are kind of clunky, but as I say, once these touchscreen things get up and running, that'll be a very, very good model. Give somebody something free is good. Give somebody something for free, and if they like it, end your first issue on a major cliffhanger. Okay, that doesn't have to be exploding helicopters. Like I say, it can be a love story, whatever it is, but something that's going to make people want to find out what happens next. And then there's a little button that says, "Download the rest of this for $5," and they just make them press that button. Make them press that button. Then that's how you make a living doing comics. You don't always know who you're going to be working with. Like John Wagner on 2000 AD, he'll just crank out a dread a week and not knowing who's going to be drawing it. So he doesn't bother worrying about tailoring it to a particular artist's style. But if he knows, if you know you're going to be working with a specific guy who's got specific strengths, then yeah, absolutely, you'll try and, if you're doing your job right, you'll try and play to their strengths and try and avoid their weaknesses. There's no industry standard for script writing style. In like movie screenplays, there is a very, very strict industry standard. Everything has to be written in 12-point Courier and this kind of thing, font-wise. Whereas the reason for that is to try and average out 1 page of script to 1 minute of screen time. With comic storytelling, there isn't a standard format. More and more people are writing it in screenplay format just because of screenwriting programs like Final Draft just make the formatting very quick and easy and simple. So I think we're going to gradually start seeing a creep towards that. But in terms of how much detail the writer puts into the script, you've all got to read as many scripts as you can. Read lots and lots and lots of comic scripts. Go to comicbookscriptarchive.com. I've got 10 of my scripts are on there, but there are dozens of them by all the best writers in the industry. Read lots of scripts. But yeah, as I was saying, like there is no industry standard for like how much detail, for example, how much art direction you would give to the artist. Alan Moore famously writes incredibly detailed panel descriptions, all in capital letters, and it's like being screamed at by a crazy man trying to read Alan Moore. I find them literally unreadable. I mean, obviously he's a genius, he's the best comic writer there's ever been, but I find his scripts completely unreadable. They'll be like, you know, literally, I got a copy of the script to issue 2 of Big Numbers. It's a 48-page comic. The script is 200 pages long, all in capital letters. And it's just unreadable, frankly. But obviously a very good comic. On the other hand, John Wagner famously writes incredibly terse panel descriptions. I mean, like Dread, Headshot, Grimm is a classic John Wagner panel description. Dave Gibbons once described John's scripts as a series of exciting telegrams, which is, you know, bang on the money, you know, because it's not about fancy panel descriptions. It doesn't matter. And like, you know, how do you describe it? Like, okay, it's Mega City 1, establishing shot, Mega City 1. How do you describe Mega City 1 in a single panel? It's like, you know what you do? You just say establishing shot, Mega City 1, and then you let the artist get on with it. Frankly,
do artists prefer that?
Depends on the artist. Some do. Some like a lot of panel description, and some prefer to just be left to get on with it. And Brian Azzarello on 100 Bullets writes much more John Wagner style. He writes very brief panel descriptions. But Eduardo Risso is the guy who's adding all that, you know, the funny little vignettes going on in the background of the panels. He throws that stuff in himself to keep himself amused, you know. But other artists would like a lot of. So that comes to the tailoring to the artist thing. Once you know the artist and you know how they like to work and you know what their strengths are as an artist, then yeah, you can start gearing it towards that. And working with you, I now write a lot much briefer panel descriptions because me and Jock have worked together so many times now that we've got a sort of shorthand. You know, I could just say low angle, and I know he's going to put the camera on the floor and do a fisheye lens effect, and it's going to look super cool, you know. Whereas if I do it with somebody else, it'll just be flat on kind of image. So with other artists, I tend to, I do find myself putting more panel description in for other guys if it's somebody I've never worked with before. And also, frankly, I find myself working with a lot of foreign artists these days. There's a lot of great, you know, Spanish, South American, Croatian, Filipino artists. But a lot of them don't speak English as a first language. And so I do find myself basically trying to write simpler and more easily understandable panel descriptions, just because, you know, you don't know whether they're going to get it. You know, quite understand the nuance. Obviously when I was an editor, I read a lot of scripts, and I think that gave me a very useful, you know, leg up in becoming a writer. You know, I learned a lot of do's and don'ts that way. But one thing I find myself writing that nobody else ever seemed to when I was at 2000E was just describing the expression in the look in the guy's eye. You know, because you know, storytelling is about people, and you know, it's about their emotional life. You're trying to create an emotional effect in the reader, and it's about the emotional life of the character. And most comics, the acting, I guess as you call it in comics, most of it's terrible. There's a lot of really bad acting in comics, especially in superhero comics, where everyone's just, you know, every line is snarled through gritted teeth kind of thing, you know. So yeah, I personally find myself describing the look in the guy's eye, you know, looking wry or wistful or something like that. It's all in the eyes. But you're really in the hands of the artist to make that come to life. But you've got to give the artist as much ammunition as he needs. Make sure he's understanding what's happening emotionally in the scene. But there's nothing that drives me more crazy than, you know, the acting being wrong in the comic. You know, like a few times I'll write like, you know, there's like, you know, a wistful goodbye, but those were a bit in Thunderbolts where a character is saying goodbye to a woman he secretly loves, but he's never had the courage to tell her this. And he's being sent away. And the artist has drawn him grinning like a loon. Like, no! But you know, there's sometimes you can say, the editor, sorry, can we ask him to just do a little patch on that, just to fix that expression in his face. But usually, you know what, there isn't time. So, and that can be a killer. And then you might find yourself in a position of, do I just let it go like it is, or do I change the dialogue to suit what the guy's drawn? And that can be a bit of a wind-up, frankly, when you find yourself having to rewrite. You know, you've sweated blood over a script, and then the guy's drawn the wrong thing. You know, and you kind of feel justified in saying, can you ask him to redraw that? And then the editor says, sorry, there isn't time. And then you end up having to rewrite your script into a form that doesn't really work as well in order to fit that. But the fact is, you know, it's a business. Sometimes you just got to do that. Sometimes you've got to swallow your pride.